What's up, Taiwan? I'm Erika Liu with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. All eyes are on San Francisco now as the U.S. city is set to host world leaders all week for the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Forum, or APEC. We check in with our reporter Joyce Zeng, who's there with the latest.
Redeeming itself as a safe place for business. For months, San Francisco has been prepping to host world leaders and captains of industry for the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, or APEC, the regional trade summit that's expected to draw some 20,000 people to the city. It's the largest international gathering here since the signing of the United Nations Charter in the 1940s, and the stakes couldn't be higher. The global economy is still recovering from the pandemic, with supply chains further disrupted by the war in Ukraine and the Middle East. There's also the intense rivalry between the U.S. and China, causing growing mistrust and instability between the two superpowers.
Now, the challenge, though, is to convene a forum with APEC that focuses on economic integration and economic cooperation, but not getting bogged down with security concerns.
APEC is a unique grouping of 21 member economies of differing political ideologies, aiming to foster more trade and collaboration in and along the Pacific Rim. Together, they account for over 60% of global GDP, almost 40% of the world's population, and close to half of global trade. It's an important region for both Washington and Beijing, which is why all eyes are on an expected face-to-face meeting between U.S. President Joe Biden and China's President Xi Jinping on the sidelines of the summit. It would be just the second time for the two to meet since Biden took office in 2021. U.S.-China relations have been deteriorating as Washington's cut off Beijing from its advanced tech, and Beijing ceased military exchanges last summer after then U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi visited self-ruled Taiwan, which China sees as part of its territory.
The Chinese will warn the United States that if Taiwan tries to declare some kind of independence and tries to move away from the classic, one China policy, that there will be problems.
Though the U.S. doesn't have diplomatic ties with Taiwan, the two share similar democratic values and deep economic links. And this week's APEC summit is a crucial opportunity to build on those, as it's a rare international stage self-ruling Taiwan is not blocked from by China. But Taiwan is only allowed to send special envoys to APEC, never its president. Representing President Tsai Ing-wen again this year is Morris Chang, the 92-year-old founder of chip-making giant TSMC, the company that's put in one of the largest foreign investments the U.S. has ever seen. Chang will be joined by a delegation including Taiwan's top trade negotiator John Deng, who says the president's absence will not hurt Taiwan's contributions to APEC.
Even with this deficiency to us, our enthusiasm for participating in APEC is not diminished.
Taiwan and its fellow APEC members will also discuss a host of other issues like climate change, clean energy, narcotics, and AI safeguards. Here in downtown San Francisco, security has been doubling down around the Moscone Center, the main venue for this week's conference. They've already set up steel barricades and blocked certain streets, setting up a perimeter in the area. They're also restricting certain trains and air traffic around the city. With such high stakes and some of the world's most influential leaders coming to town, the U.S. as hosts will be counting on things running smoothly as a reflection of its reliability as a partner for the Asia Pacific. Justin Wu and Joyce Zhen in San Francisco for TaiwanPlus.
Migrant workers in Taiwan say private agents leave them vulnerable to exploitation. Tiffany Wong reports on how they're fighting for a greater protection.
Outside Taiwan's labor ministry, migrant workers and labor rights activists are protesting the employment broker system. They say it leaves migrant workers vulnerable and that it can hurt employers, too. Activists say in one recent case, brokers withheld documentation from a worker who switched jobs because they wanted to continue collecting fees from her. The agency then reported the worker missing, essentially blackmailing her new employer.
因为需求它的急迫性，所以他强迫了雇主签下了卖身契，他甚至向雇主勒索了赎身费。
Many employers in Taiwan prefer to hire migrant workers through private agents who can vet them. And for migrant workers, these intermediaries make job information more accessible in their own languages. But agents do not always follow legal procedures when workers change jobs or employers, and they often charge exorbitant fees for their services. This can all spell big trouble for migrant workers. The Labor Ministry says those who violate labor laws will be punished.
中介有违反劳工意识，留置他的文件到离公司联，这些违规请会请地方政府去查处。不实申报的部分，最重可以罚150万的罚款，同时可以停业1年。
There are over 700,000 migrant workers in Taiwan who perform essential work in factories, fisheries, and healthcare. Activists have made repeated calls for their fair treatment. 8 agents have been fined for illegal activities so far this year. Dolphine Chen and Tiffany Wong for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's efforts to combat the spread of revenge porn online are proving ineffective. Taiwan's health ministry in August introduced regulations that give victims the power to report revenge porn. It now says that only about a quarter of the over 700 cases reported since then have been processed. Of those, just over half resulted in the images being taken down. Authorities say foreign IP addresses and difficulties prosecuting offenders are among obstacles victims face.
他去申诉的时候，却发现说，申请的这个动作是要一张一张的去申请，终于把这个照片下架完成了，但是没有想到他的前男友后来是又再把这一批的照片又另架设一个这个网站，又重新上传。
Taiwan's government plans to spend over $3 billion next year to tackle the country's sinking birth rate. But some NGOs say that money may not be enough to overcome several root causes of the problem. Jean Van Trieste has this story.
Ms. Xu and Mr. Wang have created a happy home together. They're even talking about getting married. But as with a growing number of Taiwanese adults, they don't see kids as part of their future. They say children are simply too expensive.
不是，就是物价也涨，然后薪水可能涨得还不够多，这样。
几乎每个小孩都在补习，那我可能现在补习费，我最近也看到一些调查，可能一个国中生他光补3科，可能一学期就要10几万的。
Taiwan's cost of living crunch doesn't stop at daily necessities and school fees either. Mr. Huang is someone else in Taiwan in the prime of life with no plans for kids. He's working 2 jobs to make ends meet, and he says housing prices too have gotten out of hand.
那如果你今天要背3-4年的房贷，然后你又要生一个小孩，这样子的话，你1个月的开销跟负担就是很重。
And that's for 1 child. Keeping a stable population requires a fertility rate of 2.1 children per woman. Taiwan is on track to overtake South Korea as the country with the world's lowest fertility rate. The population is already shrinking and could halve by 2070. This would gut the workforce and the military, and it would leave the healthcare system stretched to breaking, with many elderly citizens needing care and no tax-paying workers to foot the bill. The government wants to defuse this demographic time bomb with payments and subsidies to new parents. Next year's budget will include $3.7 billion in funding to get the birth rate up. But children's rights NGOs are skeptical this will get the job done. They say many subsidies are one-off or only cover children up to 6, leaving parents of older children in a bind. And then they say there are factors besides money that make people cautious about having children.
包括比如说育婴留停，这些弹性工时，这些种种所谓的号称友善育儿家长的政策，我会根本连申请都不敢提出来。我如果请了，会不会遭到白眼？
在住家附近就可以找到保姆，而且是平价、安心、符合家长合理工时的，才可以让爸妈生了孩子之后不用因为照顾小孩而辞职。
Some candidates in January's presidential election have their own ideas about how to tackle the problem, ideas that don't all involve handing out money. These include expanding access to childcare and taxing investment properties that keep housing prices high. If extra spending like next year's $3 billion doesn't work, it'll be up to more radical ideas to ensure Taiwan has a future. Alex Chen and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally today, check out this video of the annual swimming race in Hong Kong's Victoria Harbor. I'm Erika Liu. Take care and see you next time.